welcome everyone to the Hall of Trivia. Our new football and fantasy sports themed trivia show sponsored by the Hall of Fantasy League and the Hall of Fame Resort and Entertainment Company. Thank you so much for that. My name is Jeff Eisenband and I will be your host. Someone just texted me El Jefe, so I'm feeling really good about my name at the moment. Welcome back, all returning players, and welcome in those of you coming into our Hall of Trivia locker room for the first time. This show, it's going to bring you new trivia formats, new contests, new prizes, and maybe tonight, I hope tonight, new winners. So good luck to everyone. Usually in this part of the show, we talk about the biggest piece of football news, but today I want to honor one of my inspirations, Alex Trebek. As a kid, I would watch Jeopardy and just hope I could get one question right. Over time, I got better, but I wasn't exactly Ken Jennings. Through it all, it was always Trebek that made an impact on me. Alex Trebek mastered the art of less is more. He let the trivia questions do the talking, but when it was his place to add analysis or a joke, he was always right there for it. Trebek was a man of humor, humility, and joy. In my place in the trivia world, I hope to just carry on a fraction of his legacy, and I hope to brighten up some of your days just as he used to do for me. So thanks for everything, Alex. Now we got to get the show on the road. The time is now for the Start Sit Fantasy Pick'em Pool, brought to you by the Hall of Fantasy League. If you love fantasy football, chances are you've managed a fantasy team by yourself and experienced all the highs and the lows, the pain, the sorrow by yourself, and the excitement. But have you ever wished there was someone else who cared about your fantasy team and could experience the highs and lows of the season with you, together? You guys, all as a group. Well, good news! You don't have to play fantasy alone anymore in the Hall of Fantasy League. You'll have the chance to become part of a community of other fantasy enthusiasts who not only share the same team as you, but also financial and rooting interests. So you experience it all together. In the coming weeks, we'll share more info on the first National Fantasy League of its kind. But if you can't wait, check out the HOFL.com and at the HOF League on Twitter. So you can check that out. And right now, guess what? Let me remind you how our fantasy pick and pool works. We'll give you 2 or more players, and you pick the player you think will score more fantasy points that week. If they do, that's a win. Get the most victories by the end of the contest, and you and whoever is left will share a $10,000 grand prize. Not 1, not 2, not 3, 10,000. Last week, those of you who picked Drew Brees won in a landslide over Tom Brady. This week, I'm giving you Jonathan Taylor or Derrick Henry. Will you pick the Colts rookie dynamo or Titans tank? All right, we're going to call this on 3. Ready? Hut, hut, hut. All right, that's 3 for those of you trying to figure out how this works. I have some interest in this. Who you taking? Jonathan Taylor or Derrick Henry? Now, is it going to be what I expect? All right, Derrick Henry, 66%. Honestly, I thought it would be a little bit more. I traded for Jonathan Taylor, all right, within the last 2 to 3 hours. My friend Sam, if he's out there, he traded him to me. You're gonna be sorry for that. But Derrick Henry, I probably would have taken Derrick Henry over Jonathan Taylor here. Just saying. Let's talk some trivia now. I'm going to ask you 10 questions about the NFL in this past week in fantasy football. All questions are powered by our good buddies at Sport Radar. If you get all questions right, you and whoever is left will split the prize pot of $2,500. In just a few minutes, you might be a richer person. Or more rich. Probably should have called my English teacher earlier today. All right, let's set the play clock and get this thing going. Let's take a deep breath. It's time for the opening kickoff. Get in that last stretch, and let's go. Q1. Which is the one remaining undefeated team left in the NFL this season? Patriots, Jets, Steelers. All right, we're going on a little bit of the east part of the country here with these three teams. Well, many years the Patriots would have been the answer to this question, but this year, not so much. One of their rivals, the Steelers, are still standing at 8-0. 25,437 of you are still standing through Q1. You can take a breath after that. Meanwhile, the New York Jets are the only team in the NFL without a win. They are 0-9. And as a Giants fan, I don't feel bad. Q2. Besides the NFL, what other pro sports league was Russell Wilson drafted to? NHL, MLB, NBA. Yes, that's the same Russell Wilson who might be the MVP this season. I don't know. Just saying. Russ played 3 seasons of football at NC State, and then he transferred to Wisconsin. The coaching staff at NC State, they wouldn't promise him a starting job if he played another season, a second season of minor league baseball with the Colorado Rockies. They play, of course, in Major League Baseball. 22,819 of you took note of Russell Wilson's baseball career. By the way, he still shows up at spring training whenever he wants with the Yankees. And that transferring to Wisconsin, they let him play football, and he won a Big Ten title with them. Went to the Seahawks. Rest is history. For the next question, I'm going to pass things off over here to one of my blockers who's an eligible receiver tonight, Anthony Munoz.
Hey everyone, I'm Pro Football Hall of Famer Anthony Munoz. Having spent most of my career as a Cincinnati Bengal, it's very exciting to watch the Bengals' current rookie sensation and #1 overall pick, Joe Burrow. So here's my question. Prior to Joe Burrow, who was the last #1 overall pick by the Bengals? Boomer Esiason, A.J. Green, or Carson Palmer?
Well, Anthony Munoz clearly coming for my job with that sort of statement. I mean, the guy sounds like a natural asking trivia questions, but who you got between those 3 answers? Let's see what the correct answer is. Back to Anthony.
While Boomer Esiason was the quarterback for the majority of my time in Cincinnati, he was taken with the 38th overall pick in the 1984 NFL Draft. However, the last Bengal to be drafted #1 overall was also a quarterback and went to my alma mater of USC, and that's Carson Palmer. Now let's send it back to Jeff in the studio.
Hey, look, Joe Exotic, Joey Burrow, he's taken the Bengals back to the glory days, right? If there are any in Cincinnati, Carson Palmer tried. You knew that. Some of you, 19,282 of you knew that and are moving on to Q4 in just a second. But before we get there, it's time now for the Hall of Fantasy's Fresh Fit of the Week. And we're going to turn it now to Stefon Diggs, who had these cleats.
I'm Rick James.
I'm Rick James. Hall of Trivia on HQ, right? That's what we were meant to say. That's what we're playing. Very timely on Diggs' part, especially after Dave Chappelle hosted SNL last week. Look, Chappelle's show's now on Netflix, so when you go, you might be stuck at home this winter, right? But you got Hall of Trivia, HQ Trivia, and Chappelle's show. You're going to have the most entertaining winter ever. Let's move on to the next question. Q4. Odell Beckham is out for the year after surgery on his what? Knee, back, or elbow? Right? You don't have to be a doctor to figure this one out. You didn't have to study biology too much. Odell ran into some terrible luck, tearing his ACL while attempting to make a tackle after a Baker Mayfield interception. It wasn't Odell's fault. But at least he got Super Bowl level treatment getting his knee surgery from the legendary Dr. James Andrews. 17,334 of you did not need surgery. You knew exactly where that was. You patched that thing up. OBJ, by the way, right after this was done, he went right to the casino. I mean, look at him. Because OBJ said he was betting on himself. He's like, if I'm not playing football, well, I got to add some income some other way. Q5. What team was not co-founded by Paul Brown? The Steelers, the Bengals, or the Browns? A lot of AFC North in here. You might say, well, the Ravens aren't an answer, Jeff. Well, I mean, they kind of are, right? Because the original Browns became the Ravens. But anyway, Paul Brown is the founding father of pro football in Ohio, which also happens to be the home of the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton. He helped start the Browns first, and since that apparently wasn't enough, he went downstate and he built the Bengals. That's why they play at Paul Brown Stadium. I mean, this guy's a legend. Teams named after him, stadiums, well, not technically, you can look it up, Wikipedia. But Paul Brown Stadium is real, where the Bengals play. 14,770 of you got that right. By the way, the Steelers, they usually beat both those teams. So they're sitting pretty. We're halfway through the game. Players take a quick break, do what you got to do. Get hydrated, get rested. And let's take a look at the halftime tweet and greet. I asked you on Twitter, what is your most embarrassing sports moment? I also shared a video of Phillip Rivers falling down trying to make a tackle. Well, there were some good answers to this one, but my favorite was from R. Longnecker, all right? He said, switch schools to my rival school, then played my old school in basketball, scored on my own net. R. Longnecker, that is a brutal, embarrassing story. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That's really bad, but we do appreciate you sharing. That's really embarrassing. There were some great answers, by the way, some really bad things that have happened in people's lives. I love it. Q6. Which of these QBs suffered the worst loss of his career this past week? Matthew Stafford, Tom Brady, or the aforementioned Phillip Rivers? Stafford, Brady, Rivers. Well, Rivers fell down trying to make a tackle, but it wasn't the worst. We were so hyped for that Drew Brees, Tom Brady matchup, the two top TD passers of all time on Sunday Night Football. And Brady made history with a career-worst 35-point loss. 14,969 of you took note of that. Let me say this. Tommy, you're not in Boston anymore, all right? More history to be made. No team has ever lost a game by 35 points and then won the Super Bowl. So, Tom, if you want to bring some positive notes to this season, another positive record, you should go after that one, you and the Bucks. All right, Q7. Which of these players leads the league in rushing yards per game? Aaron Jones, Dalvin Cook, or Derrick Henry? Both these guys have been your fans. If you have these guys on your fantasy team, you're just smiling. You're like this at even this question being answered, but there's only one right answer. The Vikings have been letting Dalvin cook since coming back from injury. He missed a game and a half and still leads the NFL in rushing yards and TDs. So he's making his fantasy owners the most happy out of all these guys. And 13,062 of you are really smiling after that one because you're closing in right now. By the way, Cook's yards per game average is over 120 yards. Derrick Henry is the only other running back in triple digits this season. All right, we got to spice things up for you guys. Q8. Which AFC team has a better point differential than every team in the NFC? The Colts, the Titans, or the Dolphins? Colts, Titans, or Dolphins? Oh, man. Well, there are four in the AFC who outpace every team in the NFC right now in point differential. The Kansas City Chiefs, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Baltimore Ravens are three of them. People expected that. The fourth is the Miami Dolphins. Are you kidding me? Miami started 0-2, 9,071 of you. Wow, you are wise getting that one right. Miami's plus 61 is a touchdown better than the Arizona Cardinals, who they just beat, and is the NFC's top plus minus team. That's incredible. Tua giving them some momentum. Are the Dolphins good at football? I guess at this point. All right, Q9, we're almost at the end. Which coach has gone for it on fourth down the greatest number of times this year? Ron Rivera, Andy Reid, or Mike McCarthy? Ron Rivera, Andy Reid, or Mike McCarthy? I think two of these guys have Super Bowls as head coaches. Well, the one guy who doesn't. Riverboat Ron got his nickname for being a gambler, but he's in the middle of the pack on fourth down this year. Mike the Maverick McCarthy of the Cowboys is your answer. And yes, I made that up. And look how many of you got sacked on that one. 7,333. You thought it was Andy Reid. Well, it's not. It's not Ron Rivera either. It's Mike McCarthy. He's gone for it on fourth 18 times this season. That's almost twice as much as the other two. But the Cowboys aren't really doing much to show for it. So I get why you said that. But some of you are not going on to Q10. Some of you are going on to the final question. This is it. It all comes down to the last round. Don't be the Chargers. Don't be the Falcons with Dan Quinn. Finish the game. I know I used the Chargers last week, but it's just, I mean, if they're going to keep doing this, we got to keep bringing them into this unfortunate situation between Q9 and Q10. All right, buckle up, everyone. Q10. Which of these teams has not yet been favored based on pre-game money line odds? Washington football team, New York Jets, or Denver Broncos? Jets, Broncos, or Washington? Just Washington, the football team. Yes, the Jets, Jets are incredibly bad at football. But they were favored in one game this year, and that was back on October 1st over the Denver Broncos. And the Broncos won that game. The Washington football team was favored against the Giants just last week. But the Broncos, no one believes in Denver. Drew Lock and the Broncos, 2,290. You believed and got that and nailed the final question. That's what it came down to. The Denver Broncos, who have more wins than those two other teams combined, are the answer. Even if no one believes in them, some of you weren't projected. The odds makers didn't think you were going to win tonight, but you just did it. You won Hall of Trivia on HQ. Incredible stuff. I got to say, Kentucky, AD, Jung Cook, Rahook, 1234. I hope that's not your password. Carly, 234. We got some, is that like Soldier Boy, DeSoldier 7? It looks like we got Ruzu, Jay Taker, $1.09. Some of you stealing $1.10. You're stealing money, extra money in your pocket. Jay Laker 7, congrats on the Lakers winning that title. We had 2,290 winners tonight. I know some of you used that extra life after that Q9 because I saw the numbers, and that's not what we saw at the end. So congrats to all of our new Hall of Trivia winners. While there were Phillip Riverses and Daniel Joneses who fell down, you absorbed the contact and powered into football glory. Thanks so much for playing with us. I hope to see you all again for an upcoming game soon. We play Hall of Trivia every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right before Thursday Night Football, so pay close attention to all that goes down in the football and the fantasy week. For more news and information on the Hall of Trivia, follow us on social at the HOF League and at HQ Sports. As always, a special thanks to our sponsors, the Hall of Fantasy League and the Hall of Fame Resort and Entertainment Company. You see them right there. I've been your host, Jeff Eisenband. If you want to see right there, somewhere around here, at Jeff Eisenband, that's where I am on social. Until next time, have the best fantasy version of your week, score some touchdowns, and please don't get vultured. I'll see you soon.